Good evening, everyone. A very inspirational writer, Mr. Brown Jr., once said, when you can't change the direction of the wind, adjust your sails. And with this philosophy to support our hunger heroes and business leaders, we bring to you not one, not two, but a mighty three different experts sharing their knowledge on respective subjects. While choosing all the three subjects, we were very careful to select topics as per present situation and the way forward for growth. As Modi ji said yesterday that we have only one choice and that is growth. Therefore, all the topics are very opt for growth oriented businesses. Now, let me start with our first topic of the evening. The first topic we have is about winning in global world trade with the help of export incentives. And we have Mrs. Meenal Butch to give her insights on the same. Meenal is a lead consultant at BeachBrain Advisors. She advises about 50 small, medium, and large corporates on export incentives and pricing. In the past, she has worked with KPMG, Deloitte, and ICICI Bank, to name a few. She is a gold medalist in indirect taxes and she regularly takes seminar at C institutes. A very warm welcome to you, Minal. Minal, in whether you talk about United States, whether you talk about France, you talk about Italy, all the developed world, including Canada, all. But more so about our own country. International rating agency
Correct.
Moody's has recently predicted that India will have 0% of growth for FY 2021, which I believe never happened in last so many years. At least I have not heard about it. We have all sort of issues like liquidity problem, labor problem, job security, bankruptcy, to name a few. But in all these problems, we tend to hear a big and smiling opportunity looking at us in terms of replacing not all, but certainly a minor stake of China in terms of manufacturing. Our own
Right.
Central Road and Transport Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, had spoken about it a couple of times. So, Meenal, do you think that really India can claim certain manufacturing stake from this wounded dragon?
Uh, yes, Shrikant, of course. So I am personally a very positive person, and to answer to this, I will. So what I was saying is, China, of course, is not looked upon as a trading partner, as a business partner, or as a supply chain partner anymore, and therefore, what will happen is. What will happen therefore gradually is India can definitely occupy that space. The vacuum which has been created is very broad. So of course world is looking away from China, and it's a blessing for all of us. That is what Nitin ji said. Shift of supply chain, as in when the shift of supply chain from China would definitely accelerate the companies moving out of China and coming to India. That is what we can focus upon. And third is India is already looked upon as a trading partner, and specifically Gujarat as a trading partner with Japan. So we can definitely capitalize on all those opportunities which is coming on the way. So this is it with respect to the strategic and the manufacturing partner. Second is where India would be at the center stage for a lot of products to be exported from India. Those products could be pharma products, food products, agro products, medical textiles, then again products like furniture. People would focus on India, and therefore a lot of benefits would arise to exporters who would come up at the right time and take the most out of this opportunity. That is what even the recent newspaper articles have been sharing. Even if we target this as export as a target, then India can definitely notch up incremental exports of around $20 billion in next 5 years, and if we capitalize on these opportunities, it would be superb. Then Apple even is setting a target of around $40 billion to export made in India phones, right? So these are many opportunities which are coming in way for exporters, for trading partners, for supply chain partners, and for business partners, where world is not looking at China, and that vacuum can be definitely filled up by us. And if we don't fill it, someone else will fill it.
If you are talking about competing with China, so in international trade, then I believe two things are very, very important. The first thing is your quality. So quality, I believe Indian companies are also, Indian companies are assumed to be at par, or certain time it's better than Chinese companies in terms of quality certain times. But again, the second important point is the pricing, where we always beaten up by Chinese companies since years. I believe in 1980s, we and Chinese companies were on the same level, but over the last 40 years, they had taken a big leap, and very frankly, if I can say candidly, we are nowhere. So do you think with this fact and figures in place, do you think what should be our strategy in terms of pricing to target at international markets?
Very relevant question, Shrikant. Because if we want to target international market, first and the most important thing is definitely the product itself. We need to focus on good quality products and bring in right strategies in place to target those markets. And the second important aspect is definitely the pricing. Pricing is so it's like a price war. Like along with India, there would be other competitor countries as well who would be entering in place of China. So we need to compete with all. So from that perspective, I would like you to take through the fact that there are already a lot of policies in place when we talk about exports. I'm just sharing my screen where I would like it, and how it would be beneficial in reducing the prices. When we talk about incentives, of course, हमको लक्ष्मी जी याद आते हैं. लक्ष्मी जी की याद आती है जब इंसेंटिव्स की बात करते हैं. तो लक्ष्मी जी को हाथ जोड़ के जब सामने से आती है इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंसेंटिव्स, वी शुड नेवर से नो. तो हम बिजनेसमैन है तो डेफिनेटली लक्ष्मी जी को वेलकम करना चाहिए, उसको मुंह नहीं मोड़ना चाहिए. तो एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स जो होते हैं वो कौन से तरीके से मिलते हैं? सबसे पहला है एग्जम्पशन एंड कंसेशन. तो when you are importing any goods from India or from outside India, customs duty वगैरह taxes लगते हैं, तो उसका exemption मिल सकता है. Second part is of course duty remission, कि एक बार export हो जाए तो उसके बाद काफी benefits मिलते हैं which are refund directly in the exporter's account. तो वो लगभग 1 से 2% के आसपास रहते हैं, वो it's a cash benefit. Third is reimbursement of the cost. मतलब अगर आप कहीं ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं, ट्रेड एग्जीबिशन है, प्रोडक्ट का रजिस्ट्रेशन का कॉस्ट है अब्रॉड, जैसे फार्मा कंपनीज के लिए काफी रेलेवेंट है. तो जो खर्चा होता है अब्रॉड, प्रोडक्ट रजिस्ट्रेशन, स्टैट्यूटरी कॉस्ट एक्सेट्रा, वो आपको रीइंबर्समेंट मिलता है, मतलब रोकड़ा पैसा आपको मिलता है फ्रॉम एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशन काउंसिल्स. एंड द फोर्थ इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ड्यूटी क्रेडिट स्क्रिप्ट, जैसे MEIS, SEIS वगैरह स्क्रिप्ट्स हो गई. तो ये 4 तरीके से हमको बेनिफिट्स मिल सकते हैं. Why this is important to understand? Because अगर आप प्राइसिंग कर रहे हैं तो आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि कौन कौन से बेनिफिट मिल रहे हैं और उसका क्या आप उपयोग कर सकते हैं. Again, when I talk deep more into incentive, वो 2 पार्ट में मिल सकते हैं. अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट से पहले भी ले सकते हैं और एक्सपोर्ट के बाद भी ले सकते हैं. इसमें मैं खाली बहुत सारी स्कीम्स है, बट आई वुड लाइक टू हाईलाइट ओनली 2 थिंग्स हियर. एक तो खास करके सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्टर. मैंने काफी देखा है कि सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्टर जो होते हैं वो उनको जो बेनिफिट मिलता है SEIS, विच इज एप्लीकेबल ऑन द नेट फॉरेन एक्सचेंज अर्न, वो नहीं लेते. मान लीजिए 100 रुपए का अपने सर्विस रेंडर किया और उसमें आपका खर्चा है खाली 10 रुपए, तो 90 रुपए जो है, तो 90 रुपए के ऊपर 7% is the benefit amount. तो 6.3 effectively is the benefit which you can avail. It is the जो परसेंटेज मैंने बताया वो 3 से लेके 60% तक हो सकता है. And it is available for many services, legal, consultancy, accounting, medical tourism, then again audiovisual services which are exported from India. So many such services are enlisted. वो सारी services पे मिल सकता है. I receive mainly 2 queries mostly from my clients कि एक तो किसको मिलता है, मतलब मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर है तो हमको ज्यादा बेनिफिट नहीं मिलता है. बट नो, आई वुड से ये जितनी स्कीम मैंने एनलिस्ट की है वो मैन्युफैक्चरर को भी मिल सकती है, मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर की भी मिल सकती है, और फ्यू स्कीम्स आर रेस्ट्रिक्टेड टू सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्टर. तो आपको ये ध्यान रखना है कि कौन सी स्कीम किसको एप्लीकेबल. एंड सेकेंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, ये इतना बड़ा मिथ है, आई हैव हर्ड दिस एन नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स कि मैंने अगर एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो मुझे एक एक्सपोर्ट पे एक ही बेनिफिट मिल सकता है, which is absolutely not true. You can avail many incentives on single export. So with this background, I'll quickly go to the pricing part, which was our question. This background was important because इससे आपको पता चले कि क्या है आपके लिए और इसका क्या आप इफेक्ट दे सकते हैं. A very small example of one of our clients who is an engineering client, हमने उनका प्राइसिंग डिफाइन किया. And I was also surprised, and you will also be surprised looking at this. अगर हम प्राइसिंग की बात करें पर्टिकुलरली, तो जब वो लोग कोट कर रहे थे लोकल मार्केट में तो उनका प्राइसिंग था 1.88 CR, ठीक है, वर्सेस व्हेन वी डिड कॉस्टिंग एंड प्राइसिंग फॉर देम फॉर एक्सपोर्ट वी लैंडेड टू 1.5 CR. अभी द ब्यूटी इज व्हाट? द ब्यूटी इज ओनली एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव. उन्होंने कहीं प्रोडक्ट पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं किया, नहीं कॉस्टिंग में कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया, कहीं पे भी नहीं, बट स्टिल at a lesser price they could enter into export market and also earn additional savings. So this is something which pricing you should use as a strategy to enter into newer avenues, new international market. And trust me, till date China क्या कर रहा था? They have been actually dependent on lot of the government policies. So why are we leaving these incentives behind and not taking the most of it, right? So I think I was able to answer your question as to what should be the pricing strategy, particularly for exports.
Yes, yeah, fabulous, illuminating, Meenal. I'm sure neither of us, कोई भी हम में से यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं होगा जो लक्ष्मी जी को मना करना चाहेगा. इनफैक्ट हमने तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर भी लेडीज को ही चूज किया हुआ है सो दैट कि लक्ष्मी जी हमारे इकोनॉमी पे बनी रहें. बट Meenal, you rightly said that whenever we are talking about pricing in the international market, we should definitely keep in mind the incentives part, which possibly some of the exporters are not keeping in view while putting up the pricing. But still, Meenal, I would request for the benefit of all the participants, if you can tell us, if you can give us some live case study of any of your customer wherein you help them for deriving pricing or what kind of export, because most of the exporters know about the incentives part, but where exactly they can come up with more in terms of incentive, more in terms of pricing. If you can tell us with a live example, that would be really great.
Yeah. So when you ask this question, quickly, only two things are coming to my mind, 2 examples quickly, which we did for 2 of our clients. One is a large pharmaceutical company having a turnover of around 2,000 plus crore. What we focused when we did a review for them is eliminating all the costs from the supply chain and understanding what kind of benefit could be combined well, fitted well. मतलब आज अगर एक बेनिफिट ले रहे हैं तो why not take 2 or 3 or 4, so whatever available. So when we did this in-depth analysis for them, I was also surprised and they was also surprised. We could identify savings of around 4 CR. That's all I can say. So this is so powerful. Export incentives, if you apply with the right approach at the right time, then you can definitely make the most of it. Second example I will take of an engineering company, which we just did before a lockdown. it's a mid-sized company having turnover of, तो engineering company की जो मैं बात कर रही थी, it is again an old company, मतलब 25-30 साल से वो लोग बिजनेस कर रहे थे, एक्सपोर्ट वाला, their operations in US, Europe, established company. और जब हमने सिमिलर एक्सरसाइज किया तो हमने ये आइडेंटिफाई किया कि उनका एक्सपोर्ट बेनिफिट लगभग 50 से 55 लाख का छूट रहा था, which was exactly 15% of the net profit. Can you imagine? Not touching anything else, कहीं कॉस्ट रिड्यूस नहीं किया, कहीं उनका बैलेंस शीट हिलाया नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं किया, just applying the right set of incentives, and we could actually help them fetch 50 to 55 lakhs. That was an amazing part which we could help our client. Hope this was helpful.
Yeah, that's a huge saving you are talking about 55 lakh of net profit, which is, I believe, 2% of the export turnover. I'm sure a lot of exporters would like to see if they missed any of the incentives in the past. I would request you to share some quick tips exporters and importers in the house so that they can implement the same as soon as possible.
Yeah. So some quick tips for the exporter, and I would request all the exporters to definitely take note of it, or you can just take a screenshot of what I'm talking. Yeah. So for all the exporters and to be exporters, so I'm addressing this question for all exporters in the room who are already doing export business or who are wanting to do export business. First is look at whatever is available for you. जो अभी ऑलरेडी एक्सपोर्ट बिजनेस कर रहे हैं उनको तो सबसे पहले कैपिटलाइज कर लेना चाहिए, एंड कैश कर लेना चाहिए जितने भी आपके एक्सपोर्ट बेनिफिट स्पेंडिंग है, विच इज इमीडिएट कैश फ्लो. आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, सिंपल, जस्ट आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट इज पेंडिंग फॉर यू, डॉक्यूमेंट जो भी प्रिपेयर करने वो कर लो और अप्लाई कर लो गवर्नमेंट को, डीजीएफटी को. दिस इज वन. Second is review your export pricing strategy, as we discussed a small illustration. This was a very simple illustration. उसमें बहुत सारे permutation combination हो सकते हैं. तो एक तो जो एक्सपोर्ट करने वाले हैं उनके लिए टफ कंपटीशन होगा नए मार्केट में एंटर होना. यहाँ प्राइसिंग पे आके ही बात अटकती है, राइट? तो कहाँ एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स को इंक्लूड करके आप मैक्सिमाइज कर सकते हैं आपका प्रॉफिट या गेन या डिस्काउंट. सो यू कैन यूज एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स वेरेवर यू वांट. थर्ड क्विक टिप इज रिव्यू योर फोर्स मेजर क्लॉज. अभी काफी एक्सपोर्ट ऑर्डर कैंसिलेशन का सुनते हैं लोग, और भी बहुत चीजें होती है एक्सपोर्ट ऑर्डर्स की जब आप बात करते हैं. सो प्लीज सीक हेल्प ऑफ योर लीगल एक्सपर्ट and try to see how you can incorporate or make use of force major clause ताकि आपको losses ना हो जो आपका एक्सपोर्ट ऑर्डर कैंसिलेशन के लिए जो मैंने बात की. लास्ट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज रिव्यू एक्सपोर्ट ऑब्लिगेशन. जब भी आप कोई स्कीम लेते हैं गवर्नमेंट से, बेनिफिट लेते हैं, तो इट कम्स विथ एन ऑब्लिगेशन की आपको ये चीज फुलफिल करनी है. सो जिसने भी अभी तक बेनिफिट लिया है, प्लीज बेयर इन माइंड इट डजंट कम फॉर फ्री, इट कम्स विथ टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन. तो उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या होते हैं अगर आप फुलफिल नहीं करते हो? फर्स्ट कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑफ कोर्स यू विल बी ब्लैक लिस्टेड, मतलब आपका आईसी ब्लैक लिस्ट हो सकता है. एंड दिस हैज हैपेंड टू कपल ऑफ आवर क्लाइंट्स who came to us after getting blacklisted. Second is जितना भी बेनिफिट लिया है वो तो वापस देना ही है, बट इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी के साथ. So that becomes a huge cost. So kindly take note of these 4 important points. There are many, but I think these are the 4 most important points for the exporters. I also get queries even for importers. So Shrikant, even if you're not asked, I'll highlight something for importers as well.
Sure.
तो importers के लिए क्या क्या benefit होते हैं? Again, I have enlisted 3 most important tips for the importers, and this is something not difficult to achieve. First is importers के लिए कि custom duty जो payment होता है उसका आप लगभग 2 से 5% का सेविंग्स कर सकते हैं. हाउ? मेकिंग पेमेंट थ्रू ड्यूटी क्रेडिट स्क्रिप्ट्स. These are freely transferable and you can purchase and you can make benefit out of this. Second is exemption. मतलब काफी बेनिफिट होते हैं जो प्रोडक्ट स्पेसिफिक, कंट्री स्पेसिफिक, एंड यूज स्पेसिफिक होते हैं. तो उसका मतलब ये होता है कि जो प्रोडक्ट आप इंपोर्ट करने वाले हैं उसके ऊपर जो कस्टम ड्यूटी है, मान लीजिए 7.5%, 10%, वो बिल्कुल ही नहीं भरनी है इफ यू आर एलिजिबल फॉर दैट एग्जम्पशन। तो मैंने काफी मेरे एक्सपीरियंस में देखा है कि people rely on CHS and departmental officers, but unfortunately they are not equipped with that knowledge. तो अगर आप कोई इंपोर्ट भी प्लान कर रहे हैं या करने वाले हैं, प्लीज इंश्योर कि आपको एग्जम्पशन जो एलिजिबल है वो मिले, ठीक है। एंड थर्ड एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज ड्यूटी डेफरमेंट स्कीम। इसका अगर मैं लेमन लैंग्वेज में एक्सप्लेन करूं, इट इज इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट फॉर 15 days। हाउ आई विल एक्सप्लेन। अगर आप रेगुलर इंपोर्टर है तो 1 से 15 तारीख में आपका जितना भी इंपोर्ट है उसका कस्टम्स ड्यूटी नॉर्मली यू हैव टू पे एट द रिस्पेक्टिव टाइम ऑफ इंपोर्ट। बट इसमें एक एडेड एडवांटेज क्या है कि जब भी आप इंपोर्ट करो तब आपको ड्यूटी नहीं पे करना है। यू आर गिवन अ ड्यू डेट कि 1 से 15 तारीख का जितना इंपोर्ट है वो जस्ट एक्यूमुलेट और उसका इकट्ठा आप कस्टम्स ड्यूटी पे करो ऑन 16th। सिमिलरली फॉर अनदर 15 days। तो मुफ्त में गवर्नमेंट आपको 15 दिन का उनका जो भी आपका कस्टम्स ड्यूटी का पेमेंट है वो इंटरेस्ट फ्री आपको पे करने के लिए दे रही है। सो इट्स अ ह्यूज बेनिफिट। व्हेन यू कैलकुलेट इन स्मॉल अमाउंट्स इट कम्स टू अ ह्यूज अमाउंट। मतलब अगर 15-15 दिन का इंटरेस्ट आप कैलकुलेट करें, श्रीकांत इज अ बेटर पर्सन टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस, तो बहुत सारे इसमें बेनिफिट्स हो सकते हैं। So these are quick tips for importers and exporters. Please take note of this. Please आप screenshot भी ले सकते हैं इसका। और कुछ भी query है तो you can definitely ask at the end of the session. We have also kept a Q&A session. This is all I would like to share from my side, Shrikant. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Meenal, for your wonderful time. I'm sure there are a lot of insights for the importer as well as exporters in the room. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with this note, now we should proceed to our second topic, which is about bringing tax efficiency through corporate structure. And we have our subject expert, Mr. Anand Sanghvi, for illuminating us on this subject. Anand is managing and founding partner of Walserve Advisors. He heads the team of financial analysts for financial valuation, transaction structuring, and business development. Anand has more than 10 years of experience in merger and acquisitions and valuations of companies. Anand, a very warm welcome in this unique webinar.
Thank you, Shrikant.
So Anand, traditionally sole proprietorship. So जब भी किसी ने धंधा शुरू किया, so we have seen proprietorship is a very simple and convenient form of business. But recently, I have noticed a complete different shift that people who are having the proprietorship are shifting towards either LLP or private limited companies. In my debt advisory business, I had seen this rising trends. So can you explain, Anand, what are the reasons behind this a big shift from proprietorship to private limited companies or LLPs?
Shrikant, you rightly said that. I mean, जब business और धंधा start करते तब अपना focus केवल and केवल top line और turnover पर रहता है, and promoters do not want to get themselves involved in the complexity of the compliances and all that. So every time जब कोई नया business start होता है तो I mean they may start it either as a proprietorship or as a partnership. So just try and understand. I mean there are different forms of business organization, as we all know. That सालों से हम लोग प्रोप्राइटरशिप, पार्टनरशिप, HUF, ये सब फॉर्म्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जब बिजनेस चलाते आए हैं. दिस कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर इज देयर इन एग्जिस्टेंस सिंस लास्ट ऑलमोस्ट 15 years, and now people has at least started thinking about initiating their new business with a private limited company. Now whatever forms of business organization, Shrikant, that we select has its own implications in a way that their legal structure and is different, their limitations to the liability is different, their cost of incorporation is different, their flexibility is different. So say for example अगर मैं proprietorship की बात करूँ तो there is no governing statute for the same, whereas अगर मैं LLP और private limited की बात करूँ तो ROC is there, Ministry of Corporate Affairs is there. Then in that case अगर मैं proprietorship की बात करूँ तो liability is not limited. I mean people can go to the extent of proprietors' own assets when it comes to the repayment of the debt. जब मैं LLP या तो प्राइवेट लिमिटेड की बात करूं तो both are different entities. I mean, owners are different and entity itself is a different entity. So there are a lot of differences. Based on the size of the businesses, generally मैंने देखा है कि promoters decide करते हैं कि भाई कौन सा structure select करना चाहिए, and whatever structure that we select, it has its impact on everything, like operations of day-to-day activities, taxability of the income, legal compliances, and most important is one's ability to raise funds, growth and expansion plan. Like say for example, I would like to share some screenshot that why people have now started thinking about going to a private limited structure is because of so agar aap dekhoge to I have bifurcated into three parts. One is a sole proprietorship, private limited and LLP. अगर हम टैक्स रेट्स की केवल टैक्स रेट्स की बात करें और अगर हमारा टैक्सेबल प्रॉफिट 50 लाख से लेकर 5 करोड़ तक का है, the rates are different. The below table says that for a sole proprietorship, tax rate starts with 31.2% and ended up at 42.74%. And for company and LLP, for company it's a stable 25.17%, whereas in case of LLP, it starts with 31, it ends up with 35%. At the same time, अगर कोई नई कंपनी स्टार्ट करते हैं for a new manufacturing operation, the rates quoted is as low as 17.7%. Now, what happens, is that like this table clearly indicates that these are the savings. अगर मैं company और LLP और company और sole proprietorship के differences की बात करूँ tax saving की, with a taxable income of same 50 lakhs to 5 CR, the savings are in the range of, मैं अभी आगे की savings की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ, initial till 50 lakhs, the saving is 2.75 lakhs. Now, against that, people are scared of that in private limited company and in corporate structure, there are a lot of compliances and a lot of nitty-gritties are there. So generally they are hesitant to go with a private limited company. But against savings of 2.75 lakhs, agar corporate compliances, Shrikant, kitne mein hota hai? 15,000, 20,000 rupees. So against a saving of 2.75 lakhs, if we can expense out 15-20,000, there's a good amount of savings. At the same time, this Taxation Laws Amendment Act, that brought significant difference in this effective tax rate when we compare it with partnership firm and vis-a-vis private limited company. And that is one of the reasons that people have now started thinking about transferring their business from their existing proprietorship or partnership to a private limited company, along with, of course, other reasons that we need to take care.
Anand, I completely buy your point when you say the benefit of tax difference from the private limited company to sole proprietorship. But Anand, as you rightly mentioned, there are in private limited companies, the company is a different legal entity, the promoters are different legal entity. When you talk about sole proprietorship, it's a promoter entity, it's a single entity. Therefore, in private limited company, there is an additional tax burden. आप दो लेयर पे टैक्स पे करते हो. आप कंपनी जब रहती है तो कंपनी भी टैक्स पे करती है, और जब whenever you are talking about withdrawal of profits, then also you are paying taxes on that. अगर आप उन दोनों को जोड़ते हो, if you add it up, then you'll find it will be more costly affair than a proprietorship. So how would we tackle that? Taxes on that. अगर आप उन दोनों को जोड़ते हो, if you add it up, then you'll find it will be more costly affair than a proprietorship. So how would we tackle that?
I was expecting this question, Shrikant. So basically आप in nutshell simply ये जानना चाहते हो कि यार आनंद, पार्टनरशिप फर्म और LLP में तो प्रॉफिट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होता है, उस टाइम पे कोई टैक्स नहीं लगता है. वेरिन अगर मैं प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी में अगर प्रॉफिट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करता हूँ तो वहां पे टैक्स लगता है. पहले तो डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स था, अभी वो निकाल दिया है, बट एटलीस्ट शेयर होल्डर्स जब रिसीव करेंगे तब टैक्स लगता है. So Samir, I would like to say that in private limited company also, I mean, it is majorly comprised of family members and founders. There are 2-3 members are there generally. Requirement क्या होता है अपना? There could be two requirement. One is a withdrawal for household purposes and second could be investment purposes. अभी अगर मैं household purposes की बात करता हूँ तो there is a provision under Companies Act to withdraw funds in the form of director remuneration, similar to partners remuneration. Now for a company with a good turnover and adequate profit, कंपनीज एक्ट में कोई लिमिट नहीं है कि आप पार्टनर्स डायरेक्टर्स रेम्यूनरेशन कितना. सो फर्स्ट थिंग, देयर इज नो नीड अदर ways and means through some professional guidance, you can definitely plan your withdrawal from the company. At the same time, Shrikant, you have been a banking veteran. आपको पता है कि अगर मेरी बैलेंस शीट में एज अ कंपनी में इन्वेस्टमेंट करूंगा तो आप मुझे बोलेंगे कि यार आनंद भाई आपकी बैलेंस शीट की स्ट्रेंथ अच्छी है बिकॉज योर नेटवर्थ विल बी ऑन अ हायर साइड. तो अगर मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी से प्लान करूं, इससे बेटर है कि मैं कंपनी से प्लान करूं. So if we can address these 2 points through some professional guidance, then I don't think so that there should be any hesitance in going back to the partnership and not going back to the corporate. I mean, this query can be addressed very well within the purview of the law. That's what my submission is.
Okay, so I think we should have tax planning whenever we are talking about private limited companies. So we should have a tax planning, maybe in the form of director remuneration, so that we can enjoy the preferential tax treatment from the private limited company.
Correct.
Mr. Anand, I strongly believe, as you rightly said, you were showing that your presentation, your slide. तो आपने ये बताया कि 50 लाख रुपए तक का अगर कोई बिजनेस में इनकम कर रहा है, then there is a different tax. उसके ऊपर कर रहा है, then there is a different tax. But whenever somebody is starting a new business or a micro level business, जहाँ पे कोई बहुत बड़े profit की बात नहीं होती, it's just a small business which is most important. So my question to you is, you know, when a proprietor, when a businessman should think, क्योंकि growth सबको चाहिए. It's very simple. Even a smaller, a new business person also want to grow. So with the growth aspiration in their mind, when should a proprietor need to think from shifting from proprietorship to private limited companies? Because initially, I'm sure the proprietorship they would follow, but over the period of time, when they should start thinking on changing from proprietorship to private limited companies.
So Shrikant, जैसे पहले डिस्कस किया, I mean, absolutely fine to start with either proprietorship or partnership. जैसे जैसे बिजनेस ग्रो करते जाता है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द नीड्स. आई मीन, से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर प्रोप्राइटरशिप और पार्टनरशिप डज हैव अ गुड बैंकिंग फैसिलिटी एंड आप उनके लिए से फॉर एग्जांपल डेट सिंडिकेशन का काम करते हो, बैंकिंग में लाइजनिंग एंड रिलेशनशिप आपको आप मेंटेन करते हो. अभी अगर बैंकर आपको बोलता है कि यार श्रीकांत बैलेंस शीट की साइज अच्छी है, ग्रोथ भी अच्छा है, आपको पैसे भी ज्यादा चाहिए, तो यार जस्ट ट्राई एंड कन्वर्ट योर क्लाइंट्स बिजनेस एंटिटी फ्रॉम दिस वन टू एटलीस्ट अ प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी, या तो फिर एलएलपी करो. At that point of time, we can definitely start thinking about converting or transferring your business from the existing structure of proprietorship or partnership to private limited. Now, there are a couple of options available. I mean, you can either convert your private limited or partnership firm into a private limited company by way of following certain rules and procedures as guided in the Companies Act, or else you can have a business transfer agreement जहाँ पे आपकी पूरी history of the existing entity can be transferred with tax efficient manner to a private limited company. So again, with some professional guidance that can be planned. So you can start with proprietorship, partnership, and then depending on the need, like say for example, अगर आपको equity fund raise करना है, debt नहीं करना है, but investors श्रीकांत तभी आएंगे जब investors को confidence होगा कंपनी के corporate governance पे या तो कंपनी के compliances पे. So at that point of time, they may force you that कि आपको मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट तो करूंगा बट हैव आइदर एलएलपी और प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी एंड नॉट प्रोप्राइटरशिप और पार्टनरशिप. और सेकंड एग्जांपल, अगर आप जैसे मीनर राइटली सेड दैट एक्सपोर्ट्स एंड आउटसाइड इंडिया इंटरनेशनल मार्केट्स अभी आगे जाके बहुत होने वाला है, तो देयर कैन बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ पोटेंशियल जॉइंट वेंचर, देयर कैन बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ पोटेंशियल टाई अप, देयर कैन बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ पोटेंशियल कोलैबोरेशंस ऑन द टेक्निकल साइड. एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम इंटरनेशनली ऑल द प्लेयर्स विल एक्सपेक्ट कि यार आपका जो फॉर्म ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है दैट शुड बी अ कॉर्पोरेट. सो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वन कैन एटलीस्ट स्टार्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट माइग्रेटिंग देयर बिजनेस फ्रॉम द एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोप्राइटरशिप और पार्टनरशिप टू अ प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी.
Okay, great, Anand. But still, there is some sort of issue related to Companies Act 2013. जब भी हम प्राइवेट लिमिटेड की बात करते हैं with various business owners, they always talk about this particular their own shareholders fund or directors fund. There are restrictions which Companies Act 2030 talks about. And you know that, and specifically this is pretty relevant in this current situation of Corona, that you need funds on a very this thing. Your customers might not be able to give you on time. Your bankers may have some reluctancy to fund you for further business. So ultimately, you bring your own money to survive in the business and to have a growth in your business. So how should one tackle this issue? Because if there are restrictions to put your own money, how would somebody put their own money into the business? So how somebody should sort out this issue?
So Shrikant, basically you wanted to understand then ki there is a discussion ongoing in the market, and there is a myth also that कि यार private limited में साला पैसे लाना और पैसे वापस ले जाना is a tricky matter. एंड स्पेशली अगर मैं कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी या रियल एस्टेट कंपनी की बात करूं, जहां पे कभी भी फंड्स की जरूरत पड़ सकती है, कभी भी लाना पड़ सकता है, कभी भी वापस ले जाना। सो इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस आल्सो इन कंपनीज एक्ट देयर आर सम प्रोविजंस की जहां पे लिखा हुआ है कि फ्रॉम रिलेटिव्स एंड फ्रेंड्स you can have borrow the funds in a member capacity as a shareholder, and you can give it back to the company and introduce that fund as a shareholder's loan. Now there are certain cap limits available which is aligned with the company's share capital and reserves and surplus, but eventually I mean Shrikant, जैसे जैसे कंपनी ग्रो करती जाती है वैसे वैसे रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लस बढ़ता जाता है, तो वैसे वैसे बोरोइंग कैपेसिटी भी आपकी बढ़ती जाती है। लाइक से फॉर एग्जांपल इन अ पार्टनरशिप फर्म, अगर कोई एलएलपी फॉर्मेट में अगर कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी वर्कआउट करती है, आई वाज अटेंडिंग वन केस कि जहां पे they wanted to go to private limited, but this were the panic area. यार आनंद, मुझे कभी भी पैसे लाने हैं तो क्या करूंगा, पैसे ले जाने हैं तो क्या करूंगा। So at the time of conversion of partnership into private limited, श्रीकांत आपको पता होगा कि there are two types of capital, one is a fixed capital, another one is a floating capital. So what we can plan is that कि वो floating capital को हम लोग directors loan में convert कर सकते हैं, उतना कुशन आपको दे सकते हैं, and at that point of time आगे जाके जब भी पैसे की जरूरत पड़ती है, you can bring that money out from the business, you can at any point of time introduce that money back to the business. डायरेक्टर्स लोन लेकर आए तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। एट द सेम टाइम अगर वही लोन रिलेटिव्स और फ्रेंड्स से भी आती है थ्रू सम प्रोफेशनल गाइडेंस, सो दैट एटलीस्ट हम लोग कोई सेक्शंस को ब्रीच ना करें, दैट कैन आल्सो बी इजीली प्लान्ड। सो दिस इज एन इश्यू दैट कैन बी एड्रेस्ड. इट इज नॉट द केस दैट इट कैन नॉट बी एड्रेस्ड, बट because of this issue one should not think that I cannot migrate to a private limited company structure. That's what my submission.
Okay. So Anand, I completely buy your point when you say that there are some provisions wherein the companies can get funds from their own sources like shareholders fund, directors fund.
Correct.
So definitely we should keep in our mind. So Anand, before we wind up with your topic, would you like to share any live case studies wherein somebody from partnership firm or proprietorship firm have shifted to private limited, and along with that, what kind of benefits people get when they shift from proprietorship to private limited companies?
Sure, Sikand, I can think of one case study and one very relevant as well as interesting. I mean, I was addressing to a company based out of Mumbai. So it was a partnership firm. Shrikant, आपने श्रीकांत पार्टनरशिप फर्म में मैक्सिमम टर्नओवर कितना देखा है श्रीकांत in your career of last 10 to 12 years, 15 years?
I have seen about say 400-500 crores. I can recollect.
So Shrikant, this company has a turnover of about 750 crores.
Oh.
And this company does have a bank facility of about 95 crores from 7 different banks and NBFCs. अभी आप सोचो एज अ बैंकिंग वेटरन, बैंक्स ने अब तक कैसे इसको बेयर किया होगा कि भाई पार्टनरशिप फर्म में 95 करोड़ का फंडिंग। सो दिस गाइज वर बीइंग चेस्ड बाय द बैंक्स कि यार आप कंपनी स्ट्रक्चर में चले जाओ, हमें हेड ऑफिस से कॉन्स्टेंटली क्वेरीज आ रही है, बट दिस गाइज वर नॉट एबल टू मूव बैक टू द कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर बिकॉज ऑफ सम रीजंस। लाइक से फॉर एग्जांपल इतना बड़ा टर्नओवर था तो इन लोगों का 15 स्टेट में जीएसटीएन के रजिस्ट्रेशंस थे, 10 बैंक से एनओसी लेना पड़ता, बहुत सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स एंड कस्टमर्स वर देयर इन प्लेस फ्रॉम अक्रॉस द स्टेट्स। अभी से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं नया कंपनी करता हूं तो एटलीस्ट टाइम तो लगता है, इनकॉर्पोरेशन में 10 दिन लगता है, पैन नंबर, टैन नंबर, जीएसटी नंबर, एवरी बैंक अकाउंट, ये सब चीजों में बिजनेस अफेक्ट होता है। एंड एनी ऑफ द बिजनेसमैन, आई मीन नन ऑफ द बिजनेसमैन वुड रियली एक्सेप्ट कि भाई यार मैं करना तो चाहता हूँ कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर, बट मेरा धंधा अफेक्ट हो उस तरीके से नहीं करना चाहता हूँ। सो व्हाट वी सजेस्ट देम इज दैट कि यार लेट अस हैव अ कंपनी इन प्लेस। आप पार्टनरशिप फर्म में धंधा कंटिन्यू करो, कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट कर लो, सभी मैंडेटरी रजिस्ट्रेशंस आप ले लो, उसके बाद सभी बैंक्स और एनबीएफसी से आप एनओसी ले लो, ऑल जो भी नेसेसिटी है बिजनेस कंडक्ट करने के लिए वो सब आप कंक्लूड कर लो। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने पार्टनरशिप फर्म से एक बिजनेस ट्रांसफर एग्रीमेंट बनवाया प्राइवेट लिमिटेड को, और वहां पे क्लियर कट लिखा था कि ये बिजनेस ट्रांसफर एग्रीमेंट तभी एग्जीक्यूट होगा जब ऑल नेसेसरी कंडीशंस ऑफ रनिंग दिस बिजनेस गेट्स अचीव्ड, और जैसे ही वो अचीव हो जाता है, promoters can start running their business under the tag name of private limited company. Now these guys were facing the challenge because of all these issues, and now all those issues get sorted out. At the same time, why promoters were keen for private limited structure? Just श्रीकांत, हमने उनका फाइनेंशियल ईयर 18-19 का पीएनएल देखा था, और अगर टर्नओवर और प्रॉफिट पे अगर हम लोग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के टैक्स रेट अप्लाई करते हैं, इफेक्टिव टैक्स रेट, द सेविंग वाज अबाउट 1.37 CR. Shrikant, I mean, this savings can bring a lot of value additions, and I mean, it can help promoters and businessmen to grow their businesses like anything. So I mean, yeah. So that's what the life case, what I can share with all of you guys.
Anand, that was a fabulous example which you just said. Now I can clearly understand the reasons of growing trend in corporate structure of businesses.
Thank you,
and I'm sure after listening to you, at least some proprietorship firm would definitely start thinking to convert their business into the private limited company.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Yeah. So now we move to our last, but certainly one of the most important topic after GST implementation. And to enlighten us, we have Mr. Malav Talwadi as a subject expert. Malav is a founder director of Microvista Technology Private Limited, which is into software development and offer consulting services. Malav has completed Masters in Information Technology from Dhirubhai Ambani Institute, and also a qualified cost accountant, which is a rare combination, I believe. Malav is a visiting lecturer at CNE SAM.
Very good. Good evening.
Malav, Government of India has brought GST in July 2017, make it mandatory for e-way bill too. There are so many changes in GST slabs and filling forms, and still we hear a lot about GST input issues for many businesses. I am sure few participants would also face taking the GST input issue in their businesses too. Now, government is introducing new GST returns. So one side, we are talking about hassle-free businesses, and at the same time, we are adding so much load in terms of return filing on businesses. So Malo, do you think with the help of technology, it would ease up?
Yeah, so very good question, Shrikant. See, since the introduction of GST on 1st July 2017, there has been a debate whether GST is a game changer or a game spoiler. Today, taxpayers are filing monthly return and state-wise returns. That includes not only data uploading, that includes invoice level data uploading and vendor reconciliation by downloading invoice from the GSTN portal, and there are certain very complex tax computation. If we talk about compliances from government end, it did not go well. Government had a daunting task to updating their portal and managing portal since GST was introduced. So they have fixed some technical glitches, and they have given the relaxation by delaying the returns and reconciliations. But still, there are many issues are not unaddressed by the government. So looking to this compliances and new changes by the government and introducing a new returns, their industry and everyone requires, and I believe that there is a requirement of very robust tax technology solution which helps you to make the compliances on time and accurate.
Okay, great, Malo. Now let us talk about the present situation of this unfortunate pandemic. Government of India has allowed certain SMEs who are having turnover of less than 100 crores to file the GST in some time lag. And there are corporates which have to file the GST on time, which creates an issue of taking input credit.
Yes.
So how would the corporate claim input tax credit while filing monthly returns?
Yes. So I would like to highlight one example. Just let me share a screen. Government of India, so input tax credit reconciliation is one of the biggest tasks as of now. So every company has a team who are doing the reconciliation, and there is one particular ITC restriction to claim the credit. So as of now, the recent rule for the ITC restriction is 10%. So what is 10%? So let's understand. Let's assume January 2020, you have ITC in your books is rupees 50,000. Okay, so that means you have paid 50,000 tax amount to others while buying something. Okay, so normally we have paid 50,000. That means we can take a credit 50,000. No, as per the rules, you can take a credit up to whatever the credit available in GSTR 2A. Means your vendor is uploading the data, and that will be reflected in GSTR 2A. So here in example, what I am showing is 35,000 amount is only reflected in a GSTR 2A. Only 10% of that amount. Now 35,000, 10%, 3,500, and that total becomes 38,500. Means only maximum up to more than 10% on the amount of whatever the available in 2A. That is the current rule. But due to the this pandemic and COVID-19 situation, government has given the relaxation. From the February 20 to August 20, you can take whatever the credit available in the books. So I've given an example over here. So from the February 20 to August 20, let's assume you have the total credit available in your books is 10 lakh rupees. Okay. Now what you need earlier the rule is what you need to check GSTR 2A and take a 10% on extra credit on that. But here what government is given a relaxation that you can take all the credit available in the books. So 10 lakh credit available, you can simply take it. But government has clearly mentioned that February 20 to August 20, you can avail all the credit, but in the month of September, again, you have to download all the returns, all these invoices from GSTR 2A, and the same restriction of 10% rule will be applicable. So what you need to do while filing a GSTR 3B return in September month, you download GSTR 2A, and let's say in this example, I have given the amount is 8 lakh rupees. So a 10% comes to 8,80,000 and total will become 8,80,000. But you have claimed a credit of 1 lakh rupees. Okay, so what you need to reverse in the month of September because you have taken extra credit. So 1,20,000 credit you need to reverse in the month of September while filing GST returns. So for the viewers and everybody, this is a very major thing. Currently, you can take credit and you should take credit. All the whatever is available in 3B. But in the September month, you have to reconcile everything. So you should not wait for the September month because if you go to September month and you cannot tell your vendor to upload the returns. So reconciliation you have to do every month, and you have to, if the vendor is not uploading, you have to tell them to upload and file the return by timely. So you can get all the credits like 10 lakh rupees what you have paid that you can take and avail the credit. And the September onward the same rule will be applicable of 10% on the maximum ITC available in GSTR 2A. But everyone has a question how to reconcile, because assume the company having more than 100 crore turnover and 200 or 300 vendors, and they are buying goods from them. So how to reconcile those invoices? Because invoices reconciliation is a very tedious job, very tiresome job. It will take 2-3 days or sometimes a week for the big companies. So there I'm going to show you one demo of a small demo of the software where you can reconcile your automatically, जो आप reconcile 3 दिन में करते हो वो एक 15 मिनट में ऑटोमेटिक सॉफ्टवेयर कर लेगा. So what here I am showing you, this सॉफ्टवेयर जब रिकंसिलेशन करते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली वेंडर का आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन दिखाएगा, वेंडर के सामने आपको दिखाएगा कि भाई मेरे बुक्स में कितने हैं और 2A में कितने हैं. 2A means what vendor is uploading on the government portal, what GSTR 1. Okay, software will automatically match. आपको डिफरेंस दिखाएगा भाई आपके बुक्स में एक इनवॉइस था और सामने वाले ने भी एक इनवॉइस अपलोड किया है, वैल्यू इज परफेक्ट, so there is no difference, you don't need to look at, but they will also highlight there is a difference. So what we can go inside and we can check. Now check करते हैं तो कोई भी वेंडर में जाते हैं तो दिस विल अगेन शो यू द इनवॉइस वाइज रिकंसिलिएशन. अब व्हाट इज इनवॉइस वाइज रिकंसिलिएशन, वो आपको हर एक इनवॉइस का दिखाएगा कि भाई ये इनवॉइस के सामने आपका क्या है. अगेन दिस सॉफ्टवेयर विल हाईलाइट. सॉफ्टवेयर क्या करता है, हाईलाइट करता है कि भाई ये 100% मैच हो गया है. अगेन लाइटर अगेन विल आल्सो शो यू नॉर्मली दिस इज द बिगेस्ट टास्क. क्या होता है कि वेंडर इज अपलोडिंग परफेक्ट रिटर्न. बट अपना अकाउंटेंट होता है वो पूरा इनवॉइस नंबर नहीं लिखता है। यहाँ पे आप देखो उसने लिखा है WE9020, पर अपना अकाउंटेंट लिखता है सिर्फ लास्ट 3 डिजिट और एंटर कर देता है। सो एज्यूम ये सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं होता तो हाउ कैन यू रिकनसाइल? इवन आप वी लुकअप करके भी करते हैं या एक्सेल में करते हैं तो इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू मैच दोस क्रेडिट। तो सॉफ्टवेयर विल ऑटोमेटिकली मैच करेगा, ऑटोमेटिकली हाईलाइट करेगा इवन देयर इज अ इनवॉइस मिसमैच। ऑल्सो इफ देयर इज अ मिसमैच इन द टैक्स ड्यूटी तो वो भी आपको हाईलाइट करता है। यू कैन ऑल्सो देयर इज अ फैसिलिटी भी होती है कि आपको 5 रुपए का डिफरेंस इग्नोर करना है तो भी कर सकते हो, 10 रुपए का करना है तो भी कर सकते हो। सेकंड थिंग, GST 2A is very mandatory. Normally if you want to take a GST refund, आपको GST refund लेना है तो unless invoices are not auto populated in GST 2A, तब तक आपको क्रेडिट मिलती नहीं है। So reconciliation is very mandatory in refund cases as well and nowadays as well. So सितंबर में भी आपको रिकंसिलिएशन करना है, लास्ट दिन पे पता चलेगा कि ये इसने अपलोड नहीं किया है तो योर क्रेडिट विल बी gone. So before every month you have to do reconciliation and take credit. Okay. Again, with this reconciliation, what user need to check while filing return, जब आप GSTR 3B या 1 करते हो तो आपको GSTR 3B की लायबिलिटी और GSTR 1 की लायबिलिटी भी चेक करनी है while filing return, क्योंकि दोनों की सेम होनी चाहिए। 5 रुपए का भी डिफरेंस होता है तो डिपार्टमेंट वाले आपको नोटिस भेजते हैं भी आपने लाइव यहाँ पे 10 लाख दिखाया है और आप GSTR 3B में समथिंग 9 लाख दिखा रहे हैं, why less? So that you need to check with the software.
Great, Malav. I believe two things are very clear. पहली चीज, गवर्नमेंट ने अगस्त तक हमको संभाला हुआ है. Even if somebody is not, if our vendors are not filing GST returns till August, we are safe. The second thing, we have Malav with his technology for this huge reconciliation issues. So thank you, Malav, for this. So Malav, there are certain set of companies which used to follow sending the physical copy of invoices to their customers so that they can claim input credit. Due to this present situation, you know that it has become very difficult to send courier, and it is, very frankly, it is not safe also. Maybe post lockdown, even if the courier services get activated, still it is not very safe. So my question to you is whether the physical copy of invoice is mandatory to take input tax credit, or do we have some other options also?
Yes, Srikant, as per the rules, either physical copy of invoice or a digitally signed invoice copy are mandatory to avail input tax credit. Now, there is a very misconception in all of us that what is a digital signed invoice copy? Everybody feels like a PDF sign and scan copy is a digitally signed copy. No, it is not like that. Even if you you need to sign a digital with a digital signature available in the market. Normally is a practitioner digital signature or a director are using for filing a returns. Okay, that with that digital signature you need to sign a PDF and send it across. Okay, but one thing you need to keep in mind that even आपने before the pandemic, even if you have taken a credit with a signed scan copy document, that credit is not allowed. कल उठ के आपको समझ लो डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिट आया और आपने दिखा है कि भाई मेरे यूजर ने तो मुंबई से मेरे को एक साइन करके भेज दिया था और दैट इनवॉइसेस आर अवेलेबल, साइन सेंड करके सब कुछ पड़ा हुआ है. नो, दोज कॉपीज आर नॉट अलाउड फॉर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. आइदर फिजिकल कॉपी होना चाहिए, अदरवाइज digitally signed copy होना चाहिए. So digitally signed copy is a very small thing. Digital signature token is available in 400 to 500 rupees. It is available in the market, and there are softwares available. You can simply select. I'll just show you one of the example that you select one invoice and you can sign it with a very small thing. It's a very easy to sign document. So if I apply the signature here, it's a very signature. It will ask me one time a question, and then the digital invoice is signed. So here you can see this digital signature token is available. Also, you can see signature validation status. Signature is valid signed. So this signature, as per the rule, it is valid, and you can take input tax credit. So even this global pandemic situation, you can send physical copy, digital signed copy on email as well. and you can claim the credit.
Okay. Malav, I believe in this present situation, your suggestion is very helpful, because at least we can see till the vaccine is not there in the market, sending courier would definitely be challenging, and even it's not advisable on the safety basis. So Malav, coming back to our next question, for buying any product, including your raw material, of course, you need to pay GST to your vendor. Given the current situation, the vendor could not be filing GST returns, which we spoke, because there is some time lag issues. And also there could be some liquidity issues also. So then it becomes a challenge for customer to claim input credit. So according to you, what should be the precautions which we need to take while paying to our vendors GST?
Yes. See, as you know, everyone has a liquidity crunch going on right now, and before that, even after as well. While paying or secondary, or while doing the vendor registration, we need to check 2-3 things. First, we need to check whether the GST number right or wrong. So vendor's GST number is correct. Second thing, the compliance we need to check. So as we have seen the GST reconciliation I have shown in the software, you need to check whether the vendor is or a taxpayer is uploading the invoices and filing the GSTR1 return or not. Second thing, you need to check their GSTR1 and GSTR3B returns, whether this party is continuously filing and complying with the government norms and return and the compliances. So how to check those compliances? You can go to one way. You can go to government website. You can search it, and you can check whether this party is valid or not, their number is right or not, and you can also check his last returns as well. So I'll show you another solution, that application freely available in the market. It is available in Android and iPhone. It's a Power GST application. You can simply write a name of GST number. It will download from the government website. So here you can see the name of the company, it's a trade name, it's a location. It will show you the status, whether this GST number active or not. That is very important. Vendors are not uploading their returns, and government is cancelling that status. Okay. Along with that, you can also check the information. There's a status, then the trade name, legal name, there is status of the company, is a private limited or public limited. You can also check the address where the state jurisdiction they have registered, and the address of the company as well. If you go to government portal, it will show you, the last 10 transactions. But with this application, this will provide you the return status from the 1st July 2017 when GST was introduced, which each and every filing status, and also shows you the date of filing. Like this company has filed GSTR1 on 10th May or the GSTR3B. So that means we can decide this GST is a GST compliant or not.
Okay. Great, Malav. I guess this particular app is very useful, specifically in the current time, if we want to check whether our vendor to whom we are paying GST payment, whether they are complying with GST norms or not. And if they are not complying, we can simply speak to them, because it's our own responsibility to take input credit. So thank you for that. Now, my last question to you, Malav, before I open for a couple of questions from the room. After the e-way bill introduction, a company need to generate e-way bill from GST side of government, along with the other entries which generally they have to do in their accounting software, which is very frankly, it's a tiresome, and it's also take a lot of time. And it is also relevant for a companies who are having good turnover and with a multiple of their customers. So do you suggest some kind of technology help which can directly generate in fact e-way bill through our ERP like Tally and other accounting softwares?
Yes, Sikand. See, as we know, e-way bill is mandatory for the movement of goods from the one place to another place, and it is one type of mandatory thing for movement of goods. E-way bill generation is a mandatory, and so for that, government has given a website called ewaybill.nic.in, where the user can go and do the manual entry. But but who are those people are doing the manual e-way bill generation? तो आप कोई भी फार्मा कंपनी, कोई भी बिग इंडस्ट्री ले लो, उसमें जो वेयर हाउस में बैठा है वो बंदा जाके एंट्री करता है, एंड दोज पीपल आर नॉट टेक सेवी पीपल, दे आर मेकिंग मिस्टेक वाइल, एंड कोई भी इवन वी आर मेकिंग डेटा एंट्री ऑफ वन इनवॉइस, वी मेक टेंड टू मेक मिस्टेक्स. Okay, and the rule of penalty in e-way bill very high. It's like if your invoice value and e-way bill value are not matching, then government is making penalty of 100% of the tax value. So that's why there is a technology required which connects your ERP to the government portal, where you can directly generate a e-way bill from the ERP itself. So here I'm just showing you one of the video that technology solution available. With that you can directly generate a e-way bill from the software, from the Tally. So Tally solution लेते हो तो Tally में से e-way bill बनता है, वो डायरेक्ट गवर्नमेंट पे नहीं अपलोड होता, आपको जनरेट करके अपलोड करना पड़ता है. बट आपने ये सॉफ्टवेयर इंस्टॉल किया है Tally के अंदर, तो आप जब Tally में एंट्री करते हो तब आपको क्वेश्चन पूछता है आपको e-way bill जनरेट करना है, तो डायरेक्ट जनरेट करता है. सेकंड थिंग, विद आपको इन e-way bill distance is very important. Like अहमदाबाद से मुंबई ट्रक जा रहा है तो वैलिडिटी इज 7 days because the distance is 700 kilometers. So पिन कोड टू पिन कोड डिस्टेंस भी आपने को कैलकुलेट करना पड़ता है. बट विद इफ यू आर यूजिंग अ सॉफ्टवेयर एंड यूजिंग अ टेक्नोलॉजी, एंड बेस्ड ऑफ पिन कोड ऑटोमेटिकली डिस्टेंस भी वो कैलकुलेट करता है. सो यहाँ पे व्हाट आई एम शोइंग इज दिस, using this software and technology, you can directly generate e-way bill from the software itself. So here I'm just adding one last information, and जब मैं आंसर करूंगा कि भी if you want to generate yes, then it will automatically generate e-way bill Tally itself, and print भी Tally में से ही निकलेगा. You don't need to go on the website. So here I'm asking yes. So ये जैसे करता हूँ तो यहाँ पे नीचे एक क्वेश्चन आता है, it will take 2 seconds to generate. It will go to government website and your number आके store हो गया.
Oh, that's very good, Malav. I think that's very useful for bigger companies, and in fact for smaller companies who have multiple customers, because we had seen that it is very difficult. Certain time Government of India GST site is also not working, so generating e-way bill becomes a little complex certain times. So with the help of this technology, I'm sure we will find it on much comfort to generate e-way bills. Thank you so much, Malav, for your wonderful time.
Thank you.
I believe for all the participants, I believe roughly 100 participants out here. So it was some or other learning, either in terms of export benefits from government, which Meenal spoke about, or the corporate structure from proprietorship to private limited company, which Anand spoke about, and the help of technology in GST compliance, which Malav spoke about. There are some or other benefits, some or other knowledge which we all received. So Meenal, we have time for quick couple of questions, so you can answer 2 of them.
How much can I choose? I can choose 2 questions.
Yeah, you can choose 2 questions, Meenal.
Okay. So one common question which I have been receiving, and here also I have been asked, is what about the new export benefit scheme which would replace MEIS and duty drawback from for manufacturing industries? And there are many notifications around this. There is some anonymous person who has asked. But so what is happening now is MEIS, of course, has been extended up to 31st December 2020. And at the same time, there is new scheme which is called remission of duties and taxes paid on export product, which has been announced. तो ये जो नई स्कीम है वो अनाउंस हो चुकी है, बट अभी उसके रेट्स क्या रहेंगे, वो कैसे स्ट्रक्चर में मिलेगा, कौन कौन से प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए मिलेगा, वो सब अभी गवर्नमेंट ने अनाउंस नहीं किया है. तो जब तक अनाउंस नहीं किए हैं नए रेट्स वगैरह, तब तक MEIS वुड कंटिन्यू. ड्यूटी ड्रॉबैक वुड रिमेन एज इट इज इवन इफ द न्यू स्कीम इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. ये जो नई स्कीम है तो वो MEIS को ही खाली रिप्लेस करेगी. ड्यूटी ड्रॉबैक तो जैसे पहले था वैसे रहेगा, एक्सेप्ट उसमें जो रेट्स वगैरह चेंज होंगे. This, I think I have answered this question. दूसरा क्वेश्चन है प्राइसिंग के लिए जो मैंने बात किया था, उसमें है कि the question is here, many times it happens that when we import a product from China, till the product reaches India, its cost is quite low compared to other prices in India. In this case, how can we gain a hold in export in Asian and neighboring countries? It has been asked by Samir Gandhi. Samir bhai, it's a very good question, and that is what actually I was trying to address. Due to paucity of time, I could just touch upon brief aspect. So one is, of course, export incentives आप apply कर सकते हो. दूसरा, एशियन और नेबरिंग कंट्रीज के साथ बहुत सारे इंडिया के फ्री ट्रेड अग्रीमेंट्स है. उसका मतलब क्या है कि अगर आपका प्रोडक्ट इंडिया से वियतनाम जा रहा है तो वियतनाम में इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी आइदर नहीं लगेगा या कम लगेगा. तो वो काफी एक्सपोर्ट जो फ्री ट्रेड अग्रीमेंट्स है इंडिया और दूसरे नेबरिंग कंट्रीज के साथ, वो आप एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं और उसका आप इफेक्ट देके यू कैन बी कॉम्पिटिटिव इन द एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट. फॉर फर्दर डिटेल्स वी कैन ऑफ कोर्स discuss at a later point of time. Yes, these two questions I have answered, and if time permits, one question is relation to duty deferment scheme, which I have talked for a lot of importers. I'll just answer in one line, maybe later. So AO करके जो स्कीम है उसमें ये ड्यूटी डेफरमेंट स्कीम है, तो उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन वगैरह अप्लाई करना पड़ता है. There is a procedure attached to it. एंड नॉट जस्ट ड्यूटी डेफरमेंट स्कीम, उसमें बहुत सारे और भी बेनिफिट्स है, बट दैट वाज द मेन हाईलाइट, दैट इज व्हाई आई हाईलाइटेड. तो और भी बहुत सारे बेनिफिट्स है एईओ प्रोग्राम के अंतर्गत, जहाँ पे आप प्रोसीजर रिलैक्सेशन भी मिलेंगे और यू कैन बी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एज सिक्योर्ड एंड अ रिलायबल ट्रेडिंग पार्टनर इन द वर्ल्ड. दैट्स ऑल. थैंक यू.
Okay, I believe, thank you, Milan, for replying 3 questions. I believe there are a couple of questions for Malav also. Malav, if you can answer Sameer's...
Samir. Yeah.
Couple of...
See, there is a question from Samir that, can we generate a UA bill print from the Tele ERP? Yes, with the software, you can take print. And the second question, in the same question, he is asking, whether UA bill print is required. So e-way bill print is not mandatory. If your invoices, if you are printing e-way bill number, or if you are carrying only e-way bill number in a mobile, that is sufficient. Okay, number is required. Even let's say if a government official asks the e-way bill number anytime, or if they stop you in when the movement of goods, you can show the e-way bill number. They can check themselves whether e-way bill number, because while generating the e-way bill, the time and everything is stored. Okay. So the e-way bill number is only required in the invoice. You can take it. Okay. Second question is how many bill copies we need to give him while transport. The first and foremost thing, while movement of goods, physical copy is mandatory. Okay. So even the digital signed copy, you can take it and print, but physical copy you need to give. Original invoice copy is required. Transporter copy for the transporter is required. Second thing, if somebody send you the PDF file, that is your question, then you can print it, and there is no sign, it is not allowed. A PDF, digitally signed PDF is allowed, but if somebody is sending a PDF file without sign, or even a simple with the sign, and they will send you with the scan copy, it is not allowed for the ITC. You cannot claim credit on that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess there are some questions for Anand also, but the time is already 6:23.
Shikan, there were a couple of questions only, but I have to attend it in the offline mode only and not on the online platform. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely fine, Anand. I believe, and there is also a small request of sharing the number of all of yours. So just to share that, there is an email and the number which we already have. We will share all the contact details of all the panelists here, and you can definitely get in touch with all of them for any of your queries. Thank you so much. And with this note, I would like to conclude this webinar on a very simple this thing that definitely we are facing a challenging time in this COVID-19. But I'm sure today also we have heard about our own finance minister has come up with 3 lakh crore package for MSMEs. So there are a lot of things coming. Yesterday, Prime Minister spoke about 20 lakh crore, out of which today we got to know about 3 lakh crores. Rest also in due course of time, our FM will announce. So I'm sure there are a lot of things coming up in next few days. We would certainly like to cover the same few of them in our next session. And I wish all the health and all the safety to you and your family ones. Please take care, and we will see you very soon. Thank you. Thanks a lot.